again here on the channel, talking about martial arts here. So this martial arts chat, uh, honestly, I didn't exactly know what I was going to do with it, and it's because there's topics that have been, I think, talked about to death, and it's seemingly we seem to be regurgitating and going around to the same topics and same topics and same topics. And honestly, it's a little odd to continue to talk about the same topics, because that means there's either no resolution, uh, basically that, or there's no give. Like, no one is actually going, oh yeah, I see it your way. Like, there's nothing improved upon a subject. And there's some subjects out there that are just never going to be, I think, better. Just they're always going to be in a state of, this person says this, and it's just going to be constant. It's going to be constant adversity with this topic. And one of the topics is not like weapons defense. With basically hands versus a weapon. And it comes up if you're a martial artist, if you're a self-defense person, anything. This comes up, and this comes up with people. This comes up just regular people that don't even know anything. They're gonna ask you stuff. Other martial artists are gonna, you just, it's like almost a constant thing that you constantly hear about is weapons and defense. And that means disarms. That means, how would you do this if something did this, if this, that, and the other. There's always this if question. What if that happened? And one of the things that seems to be huge, and I kind of, it's getting on my nerves a little bit, and I think I understand where they're coming from, but it doesn't annoy me less because I know where it's coming from. It's this idea of, and I think I understand what they're saying, and this is how I'm taking it. You look up these things, and they're like, oh, this is the best defense for a knife, or the best defense with someone with a sword that's coming after you, best defense, and they show, and then they run away, and it's like, okay, I get it. You're saying don't be there when that situation arises. If someone has a weapon, don't be there to take it on. I get it. I get it. What's the best way to be? What's the best defense against a fight? Don't be in one. But even though we can say these things, and we can even advocate for these things, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think even as a self-defense instructor or a martial artist, I think we should advocate for not fighting. I think we should advocate that violence is not the answer to solve a problem, but it is an answer when you have no other way out. And that's what we're really training. That's what we're really teaching. If you're a self-defense instructor, that's what you're really teaching. You're teaching for the moment when everything else has failed. You couldn't get out of the fight. This is how you should be looking at it anyway. You should be looking at it from the point of view of, I couldn't get out of the fight. There was nowhere to go from the fight, or whatever the case might be, is you had no other alternative. Fighting was the only way to get yourself into a safer position. Okay, that's how it goes, and I guess a part of me looks at it in that sense. It's like, I'm not teaching people to run. If I was going to just teach people to run away, I'd be a track coach. That's not what I'm doing. Now, I'm going to tell them, what's the best thing to do. If you see it coming and you're way back and you're away from it, go the other way. But it also comes to awareness. The average person's awareness and alertness is actually very low. It's very low. And of course, all you have to do really simply is put them into like a class, and you could sit them down and do a class of awareness, and what to look for, and how to be aware, and basically what in the world you should be looking for, and things like that, and give them some drills so they can drill it into their head on how to look for these things. And you could do all that stuff, and it'd take about 4 hours or so. It's something that you can teach. And then de-escalation. You could take another couple out, maybe another hour and add de-escalation techniques in there, and teach them how to verbally try to de-escalate a situation before it becomes a conflict. These are great things to learn. Learn how to not be there, learn to see what is coming, and then get out of there. That's good common sense, and unfortunately it's not as common as we'd like to think. We actually have to teach common sense, it seems. So we move away from all that. We teach all that. That's great. But like I said, that's like 4 or 5 hours tops. And that's with like material for them to learn as they, take it with them to kind of they can look at the thing, okay, oh yeah, we gotta just keep doing that. And that's with drills, that's with understanding what the drills are for, without any actual physical techniques or methods or anything that you could show them. And honestly, that could be enough for the vast majority. But no one is teaching self-defense for 4 hours just to say, I'm good. I'm confident with the fact that now you're going to leave and you're going to bypass all of your troubles. And you know what? I'm going to be honest about it. That's probably going to be 90% of self-defense. In a few hours, you're going to solve that. Now, could people continue to come to you and learn these skill sets and get better at it? Sure. Do we continue to work on these things and get better at our skill sets? You bet. But that's not what we're teaching. That's not what we're going for. If I'm teaching you a knife defense, or if I'm teaching you a gun defense, or just any type of weapon defense, it's not because I feel like, well, we got to fill in this time gap. It really is more of, these are things that I think you should know. These are things that you should at least try to know, and or at least that way you can feel comfortable with them. You know what I mean? Just so you feel comfortable with the actual technique, and feel comfortable with the attack coming. I mean, the reason why I put people in scenarios, the reason why I test things the way I do, and push certain boundaries I do, even in with training other people, it's not because I feel like I need it. It's more of if you don't see it, if you don't feel it, if you don't have this kind of conflict in your face, when a conflict comes, you won't know what to do. Not only will you not know what to do, you will basically have no way to react. You'll react like everyone else. So I do not design my things of saying run away. Now, am I going to tell people the best thing to do is get out of there? You bet. But that's not even like what I'm going to teach. I'm not going to teach you I'm not going to teach an hour class of how to run away from something. We're going to actually get into, you can't run. Whatever reason, you got a broken leg, you got a sprained ankle, you got kids with you, you have no way of running. There's maybe your exits are blocked, maybe you're too closed in, you're too far from anything that's going to make a difference. They're going to outrun you, they're going to outchase you, they're going to push you down, and they're still going to get you. Well, I don't want you to be designed to just run away, because then you're just going to end up running and possibly just die tired. And that's not what I want. I want you to be able to effectively defend yourself against something that could happen. And I cringe at how these people do knife defense. It's either really static and done in a way that people don't really move, or they do it in a way that they are convinced that it happens this way every single time. And there are also those that just, they move in a certain facet that it's like, yeah, you've already designed it to fail, because you've basically told this person to do one thing and he didn't do anything at all because that one thing just didn't work. Well, that's not how your training should work. Okay? You should think a little bit more practically on how to work with your knife disarms, your weapon disarms. Don't think of it as, well, it's always been done this way, and that's just wrong, so obviously the best thing to do is just not do this at all. Just because you never found a way to make it work, or you've always saw the flawed things, Doesn't mean that it's not, you don't, there's not something effective out there. Doesn't mean there's some things that don't work. And then you're also negating the shock and awe value you can give to someone that is not expecting you to react. The fact that even if you grab a hold of a weapon at all, or you attack a person at all with a weapon, they really honestly don't expect it. They don't expect you to fight back. They expect that weapon to intimidate you, to get exactly what they're looking for, which is you to run away or you to cower. That's what they're looking for. That's what they want, because that weapon has given them power. It's given them, and really, honestly, you should look at it like an inanimate object that's controlled by the main what's really controlling it is the brain. And what am I trying to do? I'm just trying to stay away from the dangerous, this implement that could really do some harm to me in this person's hands, and then shut down what's making that inanimate object dangerous. And instead of doing that, people think of it just as running away and doing, that's the best thing to do. And I find that highly uneducated, and I find it also very, it's like telling people straight up, well, the only way not to drown is to never get in the pool. And you're just preparing people to just never ever swim. It's like, oh no, there's too many dangers out there. There's sharks and stuff. Well, I don't want you ever swimming out there. Snorkeling's a bad idea. Doing scuba diving, that's just not right for you. And the best way to avoid all those things is just stay on the beach, stay around the pool. It's like, don't drown. You can't drown if you're on the edge of the pool. Can't get by a shark if you're just on the beach. True, but then you're never actually getting into doing anything. Your confidence level around water is low, and if you by chance ever have to deal with the fact that you're in a flood, or maybe you crash landed, or I don't know, maybe you were on a boat with some people and you thought that boat was going to hold you, and it tipped over. Now you're in the water, and now what? You got to learn to swim, guys. You can't just leave it to chance that you can maybe dog paddle out of that, because now you need to actually have some survival skills. You need to actually have a way to know how to swim to shore, find your way to a shore, find a way to survive. I mean, that's how it works. That's why we do the things that we do. We don't learn these skill techniques just so we can go, well, I'm not going to teach you any of that because I think the best thing to do is run away because I find flaws in it. Because if you're not confident in it, you definitely shouldn't teach it, because then they'll never be confident in it. So guys, if you can tell what the topic was, it was basically, it's an annoyance. It's an annoyance to people setting you up for failure right away out of the gate without really fully explaining the fact that this is just the best way. If you don't want to be within this, we got to work our awareness. But then you got to get away from that part and say, when all else fails, though, we have to do it this way. We have to do certain things, or we got to try to fight back, and then have logical fundamentals and have some actual good thinking about what we're doing. And if you feel like you're not that kind of person, then maybe you shouldn't teach it. But in my opinion, then don't teach anything at all, because that means you aren't confident in anything you do. So just, unless you're I'm good, I'm confident with my hand skills, then don't even have your weapons curriculum and just have seminars like crazy for that. That's all I can say. Because there are people out there very confident in their abilities to deal with weapons, handle weapons, and go through with all these things. Work with them. That's all there is to it, guys. I mean, teaching people to run away is kind of contradictory of what we're trying to actually teach. To me, it seems like that to me. But, and just because, some people say that this is how it's supposed to go, it doesn't mean that's how it is. Okay? People got to quit getting on these bandwagons about what, oh, well, that guy must be an expert. It's like, all right, yeah, but then there's experts on the other side too, guys. Experts, everyone's an expert. So, honestly, you got to formulate this for yourself, and you think runaway is the best for you, man, then I hope you run every day. I hope you get in really good shape to run, and I hope you never stand with me when I have to fight. because you're going to be running when I'm actually going to stand my ground and fight the fight that I have to do. Okay, so that's what comes down to me. I believe that there's a time to run, but I also think that there's always a time that there's also time to fight. And when you teach people to run, you're teaching them to constantly be in that time, that mind frame, that mindset of, yeah, you should probably run. And I just don't believe that. I don't believe in that at all. So, all right, guys. Tell me what you think below, and we'll keep talking about martial arts. But let's keep it smart, and let's keep the comments, let's keep them clean, and let's keep them, let's keep it constructive. Okay. All right. Talk to you guys later.